What is up, guys? I am Ryan, your tech guy with the Click Experts, and we specialize in internet marketing, software development, and on-site technical support with your networks. Alright guys, let's try to jump into working with some copper wire. This is going to be Cat 6 and really great cable. Does a lot, does most of the things on the network as far as delivery for send and receive. I'll take you guys through and we can show you RJ45s. A lot of the techs in the field call these ice cubes or cubes. We'll take you through Keystone jacks. I've got a couple different here. Sometimes you'll see different styles out in the field. This one's actually for phone. It just accepts an RJ11, the smaller type of connector, but right now we're working with RJ45. This one would be a little bit smaller for phone. I can show you guys that maybe today or maybe in another video. But let's jump right in. We've got a patch cable as well, just your normal patch cable straight through, and really the wires are the same on each end. That's hence why they call it a straight through cable. There's also the ability to make a crossover cable, which it's not the same on both ends. I can demonstrate that. And last but not least, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a patch panel. Now this is a loadable patch panel, which means basically you have all of the punch downs in the back that correspond with your pin positions. There's another style of patch panel which I really like, and that's called loadable, where each one of these squares will be empty and you can actually terminate or put the end on the cable and click it into the panel. So I really like those. Hopefully we can show those in another video. But yeah, let's get started. We're going to go ahead and start out with just our normal RJ45 ice cube. All right, we're going to take our Cat 6 cable and we just want to trim some off. I usually just like to use my scissors. A sharp pair of scissors, the best friend. Oh, I got some aramid yarn on there. All right, let's just go ahead and lightly score it. You don't want to pinch into the pairs. I just lightly score it, bend it, twist it, and that's your sheathing. Now you're gonna have 4 pairs of wires inside your cable. And what's actually pretty handy is you actually have a pull string that you can pull down if you need to shred the coating. Let me show you that real quick. Hopefully I can get it. If you pull on that, all of a sudden your sheathing will come out if you need more length. All right, let's get back to square one. With that said, we'll cut this off, set it out of the way, and we'll do what we did before. Light score, break out, and then we're actually gonna find that little string. We're gonna cut it off because we don't need it. Some guys don't even cut this off, but I always do. It's a lot cleaner. All right, back to the pairs. We got 4 pairs of wires in here. You got your oranges, blues, greens, browns. When doing RJ45, you'll definitely want to have your scissors and also a pair of crimpers. These help you actually crimp down to lock this end onto the cable. I usually like to look at it straight down and make sure all the pairs aren't crossing over each other, such as this. So if you got a bunch of stuff crossing over each other, it's just going to make it harder on you when you go to line everything up. So I usually like to just peel them out, leave them all spread open, fold back these 3, and I'll start with my brown and brown white. Some of you guys out there call it brown, white, brown. I call it brown, brown, white. Some of you guys like to line these up from left to right or right to left. I'm a little bit dyslexic, so bear with me. Everybody has their own style here. We'll just start by opening this up. It's good to have nails. We'll just kind of open it up and start untwisting it. And I usually like to, same thing with these, you don't want them overlapping each other. Try to break them out. Start out with my brown and brown white, and I like to pinch. So I'll start out with my brown and brown white, and I'll try to pinch and try to pull them together and bring them nice and tight. Try to get them straight. And now we're ready to start working on our green. All right, let's start on our green. We'll break it out. It's our green and green white. I'll break it out. Well, I know I want my green next. Some of you guys do it in a backwards order, or everyone does it a little bit differently. This is just how I've developed. All right, so I've got my brown, brown, white, green, and I got my green, white just hanging out over here. And now I want to pull out my blue and blue, white. We're gonna go ahead and start on those. Some people like to actually use the sheathing to help them twist out. Whatever you guys like to do. So I'm going to take my brown and brown white. I'm sorry, my blue, white, blue. I'm going to fold my blue, white in and fold my blue in. I'm just going to try to pull these together, wiggle them back and forth. Try to get them nice and straight. And now I'm ready for my green, white. And we'll just try to straighten these out the best we can. And then we're ready to start on our orange and orange, white. I'll peel it in, maintaining the pinch. Okay. We'll bring that all together. Get it nice and straight. The whole time I'm always maintaining a pinch. I keep those lined up. All right, now we've got them pretty nice and straight. Yeah, it's kind of a rule of thumb, guys. About maybe 3/4 or your thumbnail. I only go about like 3/4. If you cut off too little, the wires won't actually make it to the end where they need to be. So be careful you don't cut these too short. If you cut them too long, then you can't actually get the connector to lock onto the jacket, which is also a strength member. So you actually have to make it up to, I don't know if you guys can see it, but this little line here, that will actually crimp down onto the jacket and lock it on. It makes for a lot better connection. All right, so let's go ahead and just eyeball it and cut off what we need here. I'm gonna cut it right about here. And we're ready to insert. So I'm still always maintaining my pinch. Sometimes if I don't do a pinch, I'll just keep downward pressure if I need to switch hands. Okay. And with looking at this RJ45, you're going to want to look at your pins up, and you're going to want to insert it into 8 of these little channels inside, which will guide each one of those strands up into its position. Well, let's take a look at how we do that. We insert it, and sometimes you got to give it a little wiggle. You can see they've all lined up. I'm going to push it in pretty firmly. I can see that my jacket has made it past that line, so I know I'm good on that as a strength member locking down. And I like to look down the side of it. I can see this has made it all the way to the end. I usually check this side too, all the way to the end. And then most of the time when you look, you can see some copper. And that just kind of tells you that all those are there. I can kind of see all of the copper there. Oh yeah, push it in and we're ready to crimp. All right, these are our crimpers. I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's one side has teeth. We're going to be using the 8-pin side for RJ45. If you can see the teeth, these teeth are going to push down on each one of these pins, and each one of these pins will pierce each one of the strands and lock in on that copper, which makes the copper connection. All right, so let's go ahead and do our crimp. All right, we got our teeth on this side. We're going to want to angle our pins here in alignment with those teeth, which will be like as so. And we'll go ahead and crimp. Sometimes I do it twice. And that is our end put on. It's called termination. So we have terminated an RJ45 onto Cat 6. Okay, let's move on. So we've seen how to put these on. I'd like to show you guys the female version of the connector, a Keystone, which this just basically allows you to take your cable, and it is the female version of the RJ45. Once it's locked in, you have another connection. Let's see if we can cut this cable. We'll bring some more cable over. I need to clean up a little bit. All right, let me show you guys on the Keystone. All right, same process. We're just gonna score the outside, making sure not to pierce into any of the wires. We'll get rid of our string. All right, and let's get into this Keystone. Nice thing about these is usually it'll give you a T56A color code and a T56B color code. T56A is usually only for residential, so you don't see it too much in the field. Some techs use it out there, so just be careful, guys, that you don't terminate something that's you put on T56B on one side and then another tech on the other side has terminated to A, because that's not going to work for a data cable. It's just going to be an actual crossover cable. If you have A on one side, B on the other, that's a crossover. But what we want to do is straight through, which is B on each side. So yeah, let's get started. Well, we'll start out with our brown, white, blue, white on the right side. So we know we need our browns and our blues, and I'll just separate these out. I'll start on my brown. All right, there we go. So brown, white. Sometimes with some of these, I start to the side. You're going to try to get your jacket up as close as you can to the back. So I just kind of guesstimate it. Hopefully I can get it up there as close as possible. I'm just going to fold in my brown and white. I'll try to use my nails to push the inside down. I'll just help it stay kind of in there before you punch it down. And I guess we can do the blue and white as well. I'll push that one in. Just kind of bend them in there. Now we're ready for our punch down tool. Let me show you on the punch down tool. Let's see, I think we need to switch blades. There are several different blades for these punch down tools. They all do a different thing. Here are the blades. We'll go ahead and put a link down in the description. It tells you what each one of these is. For this purpose, we're actually going to go with this blade, which has a sharp cutting edge on the front. And we'll get that loaded into our tool. All right, and we're ready to go. So on this punch down tool, we have two different settings, high and low. That refers to how much spring pressure is in this. So when you push down, this is spring loaded and it will pop that. It actually makes an airtight, gas-tight connection, helps with any kind of corrosion. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and punch these first pairs in, first 2 pairs. I like to just pop it a couple times until I know it's in there all the way to the bottom. All right, there's our first side. And then I find if you just twist these around, they'll just break off pretty easily. You don't want to pull up on them too much. I just twist them and they'll just break off. All right, there's our one side. Now we can start working on the other side. So on this, we know we want to be on the B pattern, so we're actually going to go orange, orange, white, green, green, white. So we'll start with our oranges. We'll break this out. And we got our orange first. I like to use my thumb and kind of push forward and bend. We got to get it all the way to the end, like so. All right, that's in there. I can start on my green and green white. Okay, green's next. And last but not least is our green white. That's there. All right, we'll just punch these in just like we did on the last side. On these end ones, guys, you don't want to go at too much of an angle because you'll just break off these plastic pieces. It messes up the connector a little bit, or you can bend those. You can actually bend the inside V out. There's a V in there, so when we're punching the cable in, it's pressing down that cable so hard that it is piercing into the copper and making an electrical connection. So same as before, we'll just kind of just wind these out. And I like to do a quick inspection. I look and I make sure that that cable is bottom seated out all the way at the bottom of the connector on both sides. I can see that my cable is all the way down. That's important. If you're reusing these guys, be careful, because if you get a little piece of wire from the last time, or like say on one of these, if you pulled out the wire and a little piece is stuck in there and you miss it, you don't want to punch another piece of wire on top of that, because most likely you won't have a electrical connection. That piece of wire underneath will block it from connecting on that particular one if there's a piece of wire stuck in there. So that's something to be careful of. Last step, we're just going to put on our cover. This actually will lock all these pairs in with these little plastic tabs. We'll get that on there. And we have now just successfully terminated and Keystone jack onto our Cat 6 plenum cable. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed the content or you learned something, please give us a like, a comment, a subscribe. Again, this is Ryan with the Click Experts, your tech guy, signing off.
Thanks for watching. Also, thank you to all those who subscribe and donate. You make it possible for us to continue creating great videos for everyone. See you again soon!